All right, and good day, everyone, and welcome to today's session of Truly Foundation and A Course in Miracle. Hi, my name is Oliver, and I am your host, your temporary guide, your temporary coach during this session. And I am so delighted that we are here in this space, and I'm so happy and grateful that we have the desire to complete this 365-day journey of transformation, 365 days of mind training, thought reversal, um, coming to know the reality of our identity. I'm so happy and grateful. And I hope you are. And you should be. Because what we are doing here is giving ourselves the greatest gift that we can give to ourselves, and that is the knowing of the self. It is the one problem and the one solution that all humanity seeks, to know thyself. And it doesn't fall out of the sky. It comes as a result of turning within and turning away from. and so it takes vigilance to choose transformation. It takes vigilance. It takes courage to accept the reality of who we are as our very own. And the proper response for that is for us to share it everywhere we find ourselves and with whoever we find ourselves, by being the light of the world. Today's workbook lesson comes from the workbook for student section of A Course in Miracles, and it's lesson 255. And today's thought, or today's idea, which we get one idea every day that we unpack. And today's idea is this day I choose to spend in perfect peace. This day I choose to spend in perfect peace. Is what the lesson and the idea is for today. And so, again, there are two themes here, or really three, or can I say four? And that is that it's referring here to this present moment, which we've learned here in the course that in terms of reality, there is no past, there is no future. The only reality is this present moment. And so this day, in this present moment, the Course calls it a holy instant. In reality, we're just always in an instant, in a holy instant. We're always in the present moment. David, the biblical character from the Old Testament that wrote the book of Psalms, said it this way. He says that it is in thy presence. It is in the present moment. It is in this holy instant where there is fullness of joy and pleasures forevermore. So here, David was acknowledging that nothing really mattered but the present moment. Nothing really matters but today. That's why we say today we make a choice. That's all that matters. What we experienced in the past is not that important. In fact, it doesn't even exist anymore. It was just an experience that we had. And now the experience is over. And now we're in this present moment having another experience. And it's our choice to do that. You have to choose to be in the present moment. Majority of the people spend their times thinking about the past, being held captive and held hostage and imprisoning themselves about things that happened in the past, good or bad. And if that's where our focus, our mind, our energy is, then we cannot enjoy this present moment. We cannot. You can't be two places at the same time. Or if we're trying to live forward to the future, which only creates anxiety, then we can't enjoy this present moment. We're not in the presence. And if the present is all there that is real, that's all that that we can do anything about. We can't do anything about the past, and we certainly can't live forward into the future. I can say that what we do now in this present becomes our present moment in the future, but we're not living forward to the future. We're living in each and every moment, which the Course called the Holy Instant. It is in that awareness, it's in that mindset that we eventually find peace, which is here at the end of this idea. So the end of this idea is perfect peace. Perfect peace is a it's not a result, but perfect peace is a part of the presence that we abide in. By letting go of the past and not trying to live forward into the future. And so if you are a course student, you're very familiar with the introduction that's at the first part of the book that talks about this is a Course in Miracles. This is a Course in Miracles. Or we could say this is a course in mind training, or this is a course in thought reversal, or we can say this is a course in peace. And so since perfect peace is what our choice is for today, and if you've been with us, you know that this is a central theme in A Course in Miracles. In fact, it is the goal that we are all looking to achieve. If you have been a part of any other religious community or path, you know that peace is a theme in just about every traditional religion. Peace is a highly sought after theme that we see in most spiritual writings. And the Course has something to say about this too. So in the introduction, it says, this is a Course in Miracle. It is a required course. Only the time that you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. This course, or the Course, does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. Love can't be taught. Love can only be experienced. And so it is not the aim of the Course to teach the meaning of love. However, it does aim at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. This is the aim of the Course, to remove the blocks that we have constructed, that we have erected to remove the veil, to remove the giant mountains that we have placed in between us and love, which is our natural inheritance. So this is the aim of the course, to remove what we have substituted as what is real, to remove the idea of separation, to remove the idea that we have somehow caused love to be something that is separate from us, to cause God to be something that is separate from us, to cause our view of each other to be something that is separate. In other words, it is the aim of the course to help us to understand that love is all there is. Love remains present. What God created remains as it has and always been created. What we experience here in this perceptual world as being separate and personal is that it only becomes a block to our reality. And so it is the course aim to remove these blocks out of the way so that we can experience the love that is always present, which is our natural inheritance. This is only natural that we understand and experience the love that we are, the love that we share. And then it goes on to say that the opposite of love is fear in a perceptual world, because in reality, in heaven, there is no opposites. There's only love and there's nothing else. But in this three-dimensional dreamlike world that we have created, there's opposites everywhere. In fact, we created a world of polarity where there's nothing but opposites: up, down, in and out, white, black, cold, hot. But this is the idea that we manifested as a result of believing that we separated from that which has no opposite. See, that is a block. To think that there are opposites, and opposites are real, that is a block to the awareness that love is present. Everything in this world will communicate to you that love is not present, that we are not one, that there is only separation. That Humpty Dumpty actually fell off the wall and broke into billions and billions of pieces, never to be able to be put back again. That is part of the story. That is part of the blocks to keep us from the truth, from the awareness of who we are. But in reality, there are no opposites. There's God and there's nothing else. And what God creates is not opposite. What God creates is likened to himself. And what God created in creation was you and me before the foundation of this world. So what God created is not form and it's not constricted to time. Who we really are timeless and formless beings. And there is a block to the awareness of that the aim of this course is to remove that block so that we can have full awareness to our true identity. For therein lies our peace, therein lies our joy, our happiness, our fulfillment, our purpose. For therein lies our full expression. And so the opposite of love in a perceptual world is peace. The opposite, there is no opposite in reality. But what is all encompassing can have no opposite. Love is all encompassing. Love is everything. Love is everywhere. God is everything. God is everywhere. And so if God encompasses all things, if love encompasses all things, there's no room for nothing else. That's why that which is all encompassing can have no opposite. So there is no opposite to reality. There is no opposite to love. In order for us to experience that, we would have to fall into a dream-like state We would have to fall into a state of vain imagining. We would have to fall into a state of hallucination, a state of fantasy, which is what happened. And da-da, ta-da, we have this experience where the world, we see there's nothing but opposites. But it's not the truth. It is only temporary. It is only a temporary experience. But when we wake up within this temporary experience and realize that there's only the one, and we are part of that one, we share that oneness with God and all living things. Like Jesus said in scripture, he says, when the eye is single, the body is full of light. So when we wake up to the reality of our oneness and that we are part of the only reality that there is, which is love, we have removed the blocks to the awareness that love is always present. And so we, in that awareness, we realize that we are abiding in the present. And so this is the part that I really wanted to get to in the introduction. And so it concludes in the introduction. It says that this course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. And so here it's going to give us 3 small statements that says that out of all of these 1,000 pages that are in this book, it says that all of the 1,000 pages can be summed up in these 3 statements. And so if you could understand these 3 statements and really understand them to the point that you walk in them, it's not necessary to read all 1,000 pages. And so here are the 3 statements that sums up all these pages. It says, nothing that is real can be threatened. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing that is eternal, nothing that is love, nothing that God creates can be threatened. In other words, it can't be altered and it can't be changed. That means that nothing that God creates, nothing that God extends can be altered or changed. So this speaks not only of reality, but it speaks of us, our true identity. Why? Because we are the creation, we are the extension of God or of love itself. Therefore, the law of love says all things created are created like unto himself. Every seed produces after its own kind. That's a law. And so the only thing that is real and lasting and is eternal is love. And God is love. And therefore, what God extends and calls his very own self, the I am, or in religious community, in the course, they use the word Christ. It's only symbolic of to identify that which God extended in creation, that which God created. And it makes a distinction here between that which is real and that which is not. So it says that which God create can't be threatened. That means who we are. we can't be altered or changed. That means that we remain as God created us in reality. And then the second line here says nothing unreal exists. So everything in the temporal world, everything in the material world, in reality, it doesn't exist because what is temporary? It is subject to change. It is subject to alteration. And ultimately, it is subject to disappear. And so here, the Course makes a distinct difference between that which is real and that which is not. It is it is the fundamental foundation of the theoretical idea of A Course in Miracles, knowing the difference between reality and unreality. And when we apply that to our identity, then we say, okay, well, my reality began before the foundation of the world, before there was time, before there was space, before there was any matter. So I am formless and timeless, just like my creator. That's my true identity. However, there is a identification that I relate to that has a birth date and has has been identified with a name, and we even all get unique social security numbers. So here it's saying that experience of a separate self, it says it's not real. It says it's not real, and ultimately it doesn't exist because it's only a temporary experience. And we already know this body identification not only have a birth date, but it has a death date. It has a expiration date. So we don't want it to be real. We don't want it to be our true identity. Why? Because we don't want to be some, temporary idea. No. It is our nature to be eternal and infinite, like our Father. Because to think that all it is to us is a birth and a death, that is depressing. And that's why you see a world of depressed people, because they believe that who they are is their body identification. And they know that just like there was a beginning, that there's an end coming, and that's depressing. But even their thinking that way doesn't change the reality of who they are. It just gives them an experience that includes pain and suffering, anxiety and fear, sin consciousness and guilt. That's where it comes from. It comes from wrong thinking. It comes from erroneous thinking. It comes from an erroneous idea that we can actually separate ourselves from our creator and become something else other than what God created. And so it produces a tremendous amount of anxiety, a tremendous amount of fear and anguish, impoverishment and sickness and disease and anger and all of the things that we see in the world that are unloving. It comes from that idea of believing that we are something that we are not. And so thank God that even our mistaken identity cannot alter that which is real. It can't threaten that which is real. Remember our first statement that says nothing real can be threatened. So who we are can never be up for change. You can rest in peace knowing that you are just like your Father. You're just like your creator. You are infinite. You are impersonal. The false self is a personal self with a personal history. But we can rest assured that we are infinite, meaning there is no beginning and there is no end to us. We just are. Like God is, we are. God is, therefore I am. And so there is no beginning or end to us. That's what infinite means. That we've always existed. Just like God has always existed. Why? Because we and God are one. God has no age. God has no gender. God has no body. God has no history. God merely is. Love merely is. Merely is what? It is always present. And so it goes on to conclude that when we accept these two realities for ourselves, that nothing real is threatened and nothing unreal exists, when we accept those ideas, those premises as true, it says, herein lies the peace of God. Then we have peace. Even God has to accept these realities. Otherwise, God would be this unloving father that we have made of him or her or it. Because remember, God is not a gender. Well, because even God himself knows that what God is and there is nothing else. There's no real threat. There's no real attack. I have no enemies. See, all these are ideas that we have made up in the dream of separation. Which creates the what? Which creates the fear, which creates the guilt, which creates the what? The insanity that we see that happens in the world. It says, so as a result of accepting these two premises, that only reality exists and it can't be altered. Only what God creates remains. So it's like the law. It's the law of love. Paul said it this way. In Romans, he says, the law of the Spirit of life in Christ. The law of the Spirit. What's the law of the Spirit? It's the law of love. He said, the law of the Spirit in Christ has made me free from the law of what? Sin and death. From the law of what? Sin and death. The law of separation. The law of illusion, where we believe in sin and death. He said, but the law of love, which is the only law there is, has made me free. I'm not subject to the law of sin and death. I'm not subject to the belief in separation. I'm not subject to the illusion that there's anything outside of God. He went on to say that what God has reconciled us, all of us, back into himself, into the one law. So the law of sin and death no longer exists. The dream of separation, no, it doesn't exist. It never has existed. Nothing unreal exists. That's what he's talking about here. So when we wake up from our sleeping state, dreaming of separation from each other and from God and from all living things, then we realize what? Only love is real. And herein lies what? Herein lies the peace of God. So the peace of God comes from knowing and accepting and embracing for yourself that which is real, your true identity. It is the one problem and the one solution. The problem, what? The belief in separation, that we could actually separate from our source. The Course tells us that what? Ideas can't leave their source. What God create can't walk off like the prodigal son. What God created can't leave the garden. Like the story goes that Adam and Eve left the garden, as though we can just become something else. So you notice they're just stories. They're not reality, because they don't represent what is real. What is real is what? It is impossible for us to be separate from our source. It is absolutely impossible. God would have to separate from himself. God would have to break his own law in order for us to be or to become something that we're not. We can only dream of that. We can only fantasize of that. We can only have vain imaginings of that, and we see it in the world. We see it in the world that we were a part of, in the sense that until there was an awakening that we experienced, we were playing the game too, as what? These separate selves. Now we understand there is only the one self, the one life that we all share, the one being that we all share, the one love that we all share, the one God that we all share. That is the solution that humanity is looking for, but it's not out there. It is in the knowing of the truth. And that's why Jesus said, hey, these folks need some more information. We was having a problem interpreting things that was put together for us. And therefore, the Course in Miracles was downloaded to us. Say, hey, look, you need the simple explanation of what's going on here so you can wake up. Thank God for the Course. And it's not just the Course in Miracles. I mean, like I said, this is just one of 1,000, one of 1,000,000 course downloads that have been given to humanity to wake us up to the truth, to the oneness that we all share. And so back over to the lesson for today, 255. Now the lesson will make a little more sense that I've kind of prefaced it with that foundational sharing on the introduction and what the Course is all about. It's about peace. All of us, what it says is all of us are searching for peace. You ever been searching for something? Here's the thing that happens to me. Sometimes I'll be looking for my glasses and I have them on. It ever happened to you? You ever been looking for something and it's in your pocket? You had it all the time. Well, that's how it is in reality. Who we are is peace. Why? Because we are an extension of what? Peace itself. Peace is an aspect of love. Peace is a part of our nature. It's a part of our essence. It's a part of God. And so what is the essence of God and the nature of God? That is who we are. And we become aware of that when we remove the blocks that we have constructed. When we remove the erroneous ideas that we have embraced. When we remove the false identity which we try to establish as a substitute to our reality. When those things are removed, all that is left, all that remains is what was there all the time. What was always present. Love is always present. Peace is always present. The peace of God is shining all the time, and it's shining in us now. That the blocks have been removed. We become aware of that. So this day I choose to spend in perfect peace. It does not seem to me that I can choose to have but peace today. It doesn't seem that way, that we could actually just choose for peace when we're thinking or when we're perceiving ourselves to be something that we're not. However, our God assumes or assures us, reality assures us that what God created is likened to himself. Here it is, the creation principle. What God extends is his very own self. And in that extension, he calls creation. In that extension is our identification. It is that which God extends is who we are. That's why you just quite naturally say, I am. Why? Because you, out of your nature, is absolutely sure that you exist. That's the one thing that you do know, is that what? I exist. I am conscious. I am aware. You are self-aware. See, no other creature, no other creation is self-aware. We are God's highest creation. Why? Because the very awareness and the very consciousness that God is the very awareness and consciousness that we all share. That is what is at the essence and at the very nature of God, is awareness and consciousness. You will always be aware and you will always be conscious. And it appears now that we're only conscious of this, what, three-dimensional world. Seems like we're stuck in this material, temporal world, and we're not conscious of that world called heaven. We're not conscious of that perfect place, that perfect reality. Seems like we've been taken away from that, and it seems that way. Why? You know how it is when you sleep. It seems like a whole lot of things are going on in your dreams, but in reality, there's nothing going on. You're laying perfectly at home and safe in your bed. But in your mind, in your dreams, there's a whole lot of things going on. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. It seems that way. But in reality, you are in your bed, in the comfort of your home. All is safe. You ever walked in on your kid and you knew they were dreaming, you knew they was having a bad dream, like the lion was chasing them? And you could see them tossing and turning, in their mind, what? It was reality. But as you walked in and looked over them, you knew that they were what? That they was at home, and you knew they were safe. So dreams appear to be real. Things seem to be real when they're not. And when they're not real, like it said, that which is not real, it really doesn't exist. But we act as though it does. But none of that experience changes reality. Reality remains intact. God has not been offended or moved one iota by any of this. A lot of us look out into the world and we see such atrocities and we see such insanity, and we say, where's God? Why would God create something like this? Well, God didn't create this. We made this mess. We made this mess. We made this world and we made this mess. And we're the only one that can make the correction. And the correction is made by just a shift in our perception. That's why this course is called A Course in Miracle. The miracle is when we wake up to the reality of what is real and shift our thinking and our perception, everything changes. So we're able to look past the falsity. We're able to look past the illusions of this world and see only reality. And in that moment, we become what? The signpost. We become the light of the world, like Jesus said. We become that we become that certainty. We become that place, and we become that pointing for others to look and say, what is wrong with you? Why aren't you all upset? Why aren't you? Well, the difference is that what? You're looking through true perception. They're looking through a false perception. Your true perception brings peace. Their false perception brings what? Sin consciousness, guilt, and fear, and anxiety, which leads to suffering. And all of that happens in a space of illusion. But you know that the moment that one wakes up to the truth, that is all over. In that instant, in that moment. And so we are assured that we are like unto our Creator. It can't be any other way. We are assured of that. I'm certain about that. Love can only create love. Love can only extend love. So let us this day have confidence in our Creator, who says that we are, or I am, God's creation. Let us have confidence and certainty in that. We are placing our confidence and faith in something. And when our confidence and faith is placed in an illusion, we get the results of the illusion. And the results of an illusion is sin consciousness, guilt, and fear, anxiety and suffering and pain and all the other stuff that go with it. But when our confidence is placed in reality, that we remain as God created us. When our confidence is in the reality that we are one with our Creator, that we have equality with our Creator, it can't be any other way. And then that leads to what? Therein lies the peace of God. And so that means that what? We abide in the peace. It's not that we're choosing today to be in peace, but in reality, there's really no other place to abide. There's really not multiple choices. There's really only one reality. So let the peace that we choose be ours today. Let it bear witness to the truth of what our Creator has established. Let it be true to what our Creator has said. That we can have no cares. And must remain forever in the peace of heaven. This is reality. When we embrace reality as our own, there is no care. There is no anxiety. There is no fear. There is no doubt. There is no guilt. There is no judgment. There is no sin consciousness. When we allow reality to be what it is, it says, in His name or in His nature, we give today to finding what our Father wills for us. So finding what the will of God is for us and accepting it as our very own, because there's only one will. That's what Jesus meant when He said, what? Our Father who art in heaven, holy is thy name. Your kingdom has come. In other words, your reality has come. Love is present everywhere. Thy will is done. Thy will be done. The one will of God on earth as it is where? In heaven. So what He's saying is that heaven and earth really is one entity. It has become one. When you wake up to the reality of truth, all things have become one. The one will, the one peace of God, the one purpose. And when we embrace this and accept it for ourselves and abide in it, therein lies the peace of God. In other words, we lay in the peace. It says, and accept it as our own. And in accepting it, we give it to all that God has created. We share it with everyone. Why? We realize that everyone is a part of the peace. We realize that there's only the one. We realize that we are indeed connected to one another. We all share this one life together, this one being together. And it doesn't exclude anyone, and it certainly doesn't exclude God. So who God is who we are. Like it was said by the writer that as He is, so are we in this world right now. Well, how is He? How is reality? How is God? How is love? It says, so are we in this world right now. It's just that, are you aware of that, or are you not aware? Is there a block to the awareness that love is present? That's what it means. That's the aim of the course. That is the miracle. To remove the block to the awareness that love is always present, and love is who we are. And peace is an aspect of love. joy and happiness and fulfillment and contentment. These are all aspects of love. Always present. That means that we are always filled with the peace of God. Peace is always shining. Love is always shining within us. It's that we have to what? Get the mind that believe that it has run away, that it has gone prodigal, to come back home. And that's what this whole process of transformation is all about, that we are going through these 365 days lesson because our mind have gone astray. And so the whole purpose for the 365 days lesson is to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And so each and every day we participate in one God idea to help to renew the mind and to bring the mind back under its subjection, bring it back into subjection of that which is true and that which is real. The mind went afraid. Like, God came into the garden and asked Adam, where are you? He said, I was afraid and I was naked. See, all these vain imaginings, all these ego ideas come to be a substitute for that which is real. And it created all of this. But all of this has been reconciled. And all of this is reconciled in your own experience when you embrace the truth that is true always as your very own. And the dream is over. And now we become the symbol of light. We become the symbol of love in our own lives, in our own relationships. Everywhere we go, we don't go looking for anything, but we go to share everything because we realize that we are everything. We have everything. So we don't go looking for nothing, but we become the bringers of salvation. We become the bringers of peace. We become the saviors of our world by being the light of our world. By standing as a symbol of oneness, not a symbol of separation, not a symbol of division, not a symbol of inequality, but when we stand as a symbol of oneness, that all things are the one thing. Then we are fulfilling our role and our function. Then we are happy. Then we are full of grace and mercy. Then we have no problem letting go anything. It's called forgiveness. This is a course in forgiveness also, because it is through our letting go of that false self, that false idea, that idea of separation. And it's through the letting that go that all remains is the truth that is true always. Just simply letting it go. And so today, we look and we find the Father's will for us. We accept it as our own and we give it to everyone by being the light. And so, our Father, would we pass this day to you? Your creation has not forgotten you. The peace you gave to us still is in our mind, and it is there that we choose to spend today. Why? Because that's where God placed it. God places peace in you. And we are here today at Truly Foundation to remind you that the peace of God is shining in you now and in all living things. The love of God is in you now, and it is in all living things. And so that is our conclusion of workbook lesson 255. This day I choose to spend in perfect peace. And not only this day, but every moment of this day and every moment of each and every day. It is but a choice. It is but your choice, our choice. And no one can take that choice away from you. Doesn't matter. You could be in the deepest dungeon, the deepest jail. You could be in the most horrific circumstance, which most of you are not. And the peace of God would still remain with you because it's always shining. It is a part of you. You can't get away from it. You can ignore it, and we know what that looks like when we ignore the truth, when we ignore the peace and the love that we are, when we ignore our oneness with each other, and we see it on display more than we would desire. We see the division in the world. We see all of the inequalities that's on display. We see all of the suppression that's in the world. We see how humanity, when he sleeps to his true self, how he treats himself and how he treats his brother. But now that we have awakened, now that we have recognized our oneness with God and each other, we become the saviors. So in every encounter today, where you encounter others, like Matthew 6 says, let your light shine, let your love shine, let your peace shine before men. It is that way that they come to understand that it's possible for me too. If it's possible for Jane, it's possible for me. If it's possible for Robert, it's possible for me. And so we have a vital role in God's plan for salvation in our life, in our daily life, in our daily coming and going, no matter where you are. When we are being that truth, that light, in many cases, we don't have to say anything. We're not talking about proselytizing people. We're talking about being the expression of love that you are, being the light that you are. And what does that look like? We don't judge anything. No, we don't judge anything. All things have been judged. And they were judged in righteousness. And so now, with that understanding, we're able to see the face of Christ in everyone, regardless of what they may be going through. We can see their reality, even if they can't see it. And so we hold a space for them until they can hold that space for themselves. We love them until they can love themselves. We be the peace for them until they can be peace for themselves. That's our responsibility. That's our role as saviors of the world. So let's go and be that today. Let's go and do that today. The peace of God is shining in us right now. And I'm glad about it. How great it is to be loved by him and to be loved by you. And so it is. Thank you so much. This has been a great lesson. And we'll be back tomorrow with lesson 256. And until then, peace. Bye-bye.